there and welcome. You're about to watch a Lakehead International live webinar. It is a great way to explore what Lakehead University is all about. In this session, you'll hear insights and stories from Lakehead professors, staff, and current students. While watching, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. For now, let's dive in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Discover Lakehead faculty session. I am Hardika Narayankar, part of the Lakehead International team, and I work as the International New and Social Media Officer. It's great to see so many of you joining today. Over the next little while, we'll be exploring what makes Lakehead University's Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities a leader in shaping the next generation of thinkers, community leaders, and also social innovators. So from our diverse undergraduate and graduate programs to hands-on learning, community engagement, and also research opportunities that prepares you for the real-world impact. So by the end of today's session, you'll have a clear picture of whether Lakehead's Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities is the right fit for your goals. So let's begin. So the agenda for today is pretty simple. We'll be giving like a Lakehead overview. We'll be talking about the faculty and also give you a programs overview. And then my lovely colleague Jordan Ball will be taking over with conversations with our guests for today. And in the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So let's kick things off with a quick overview of Lakehead University. Lakehead University is a public university in Ontario with 3 distinct locations. Our main campus is in Thunder Bay, another one in Orillia, and then we have a specialized STEM hub in Barrie. But what truly sets us apart isn't just the locations, it's the community and the commitment that we are here to provide you. So while rankings aren't everything, they offer a great snapshot of our impact. We are in the top 3 in Canada for research in our category. Times Higher Education ranked us as #1 in North America for universities with under 10,000 students. Maclean's consistently places us in the top 5 in our category in Canada as well. So even though we are considered a smaller universities, our achievements are anything but small. Now, life at Lakehead is about way more than just sitting in lectures and also taking notes. It's more about building that connection and engagement with your peers, with your professors. So instead of huge lecture halls, we focus on smaller, more personal classes. So the student-to-faculty ratio is 15:1 in Thunder Bay and 13:1 in Orillia. This means that more opportunities to ask questions to your professors and also really connect with them. And also, unlike many universities where research is reserved for graduate students, you can at Lakehead you can start getting hands-on undergraduate research experience as early as your first year. That's a really good edge and a real edge for your future. Now, students come to Lakehead from over 90 countries or 90 nations, making every classroom a chance to hear different perspective, also share experiences, and also learn from your peers who are from different communities and also from the Canadian community. The results speak for themselves. So 96.2% of our graduates are working within 2 years, which is a rate higher than the Ontario average of 94.1%. So this tells us that our students leave here ready and also confident too. In short, Lakehead is small enough to feel personal, but also big enough to make an impact and give you the real Canadian experience. Now, why does Canada attract so many international students? There are several compelling factors, but firstly, Canada is regularly ranked as one of the top 10 greenest countries in the globally for quality of life. Secondly, it is consistently ranked among the top 14 most peaceful nations worldwide. This combination makes Canada a safe and welcoming and also highly supportive environment for students from diverse backgrounds. Canada is also consistently ranked as one of the world's best places to live, celebrated for its high quality of life, safety, and peaceful environment. So this nation is also renowned for its inclusivity, as it is one of the first countries to officially adopt multiculturalism. So Canada proudly serves as home to nearly 1 million international students. Now, let's talk about something that's on top of most of the international students' minds, which is work opportunities and what comes after graduation. So, while studying, you can work up to 24 hours per week during the semester. It is a really good way to cover your expenses and also gain some Canadian experience. Once you graduate, every Lakehead program makes you eligible for a post-graduation work permit, which could give you up to 3 years open work permit, open work in Canada. And looking ahead, um, you can also receive extra points for your Canadian university degree when applying for permanent residency. Now, let's just move and talk about a bit of Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, some of the highlights. So we are going to explore some of the programs offered at both the undergraduate and graduate levels. After that, we'll sit down with few of our current researchers at Lakehead and also current students to give you a more personal perspective. Now to start with, let's take a closer look. I like to kick things off by just highlighting some of the key strengths of the faculty along with what you can expect as a student. So one of the biggest advantages is the chance to participate in the meaningful research. We are actually ranked in the top 3 for social sciences and humanities in our category. When you join the faculty, you'll have access to more than 16 majors, and you'll even have the option to combine 2 subject areas in select programs. There are also opportunities to specialize in areas like writing, cultural studies, and popular texts. You'll also have plenty of hands-on learning experiences that take your education beyond the classroom. And I'll break those down shortly, but first let's look at the programs offered with the faculty. Some of the major areas include criminology, interdisciplinary studies, media, film, and communications, outdoor recreation parks and tourism, political science, and our pre-law option. So these tend to be especially popular with international students because if you want to take a deeper dive into any of these programs, our website, lakeheadu.ca, is the best place to start. Now about those hands-on learning opportunities, Lakehead gives you plenty of ways to blend academics with community-based and experiential learning, often through a social justice lens. So let's move forward. So here are a few of the examples. In public history field schools, students visit historical and heritage sites, monuments, and any kind of other key locations across different time periods. Music students can join small ensembles and perform publicly with the Thunder Bay Symphony Orchestra. For visual art students, they may take internships in commercial or applied arts or even other media fields. Through the life writing project, students have written personal memoirs with community members and hospice care. Talking about media, film, and communication students, they organize and present their own public arts exhibition through the Media Art Showcase. Field exploration offers 8 to 14 days of outdoor expedition. For example, outdoor recreation students recently completed a sea kayaking trip on Lake Superior. So as we wrap up this overview, you may be wondering where a Lakehead Social Sciences or Humanities degree can take you. So after your bachelor's degree or one of your graduate programs, you can move on to law school, other professional studies, or just step directly into the workforce. So on the left side of your screen, you'll see a range of common career pathways our graduates pursue. So keep your options open as you explore. And remember, our career services and co-op teams is here to support you every step of the way. So now that you have heard a bit about the faculty, it's always more powerful to hear from a student who's living the experience or our faculty members. So next up, we have our lovely colleague, Jordan Ball, who will be talking to some of our guests and take this session forward.
And with that, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Dr. Bonifacio for joining us. We're very excited to have her join and dedicate some time to share her knowledge about the faculty she runs essentially as the dean. I'll pass over to Dr. Bonifacio to introduce herself, share a bit about her history in academia, and how she became the dean of Lakehead University. And then with that being said, we'll dive into a few more questions to get to know her a bit better and her vision for the faculty.
Yeah, thank you so much. Welcome to Lakehead University. I am Glenda Bonifacio. I came to Lakehead University in 2023 and was inspired by the landscape. We are at Thunder Bay campus. We are situated close to the largest freshwater lake in the world. That's the Lake Superior. And I originally came from the Philippines, and the Philippines has over 7,000 islands. And that's the closest to where I could be for home.
Awesome. Close in terms of perhaps access to water,
Yes.
geographically quite far, but we're certainly excited to have you. Before joining Lakehead, you mentioned you're in the Philippines. Could you share with us where you focused your area of study and research in social sciences and humanities?
For over 18 years, my research area is on gender, migration, and citizenship, which I started in Australia when I did my PhD, and then coming to Canada in 2005 or so. I got a job first at the University of Guelph to teach on Asian history, and then move on to the University of Lethbridge for over 17 years in gender and women's studies. And my area of research is on migration. And then in the last 5 years, because of my connections with the Philippines and experiencing the strongest typhoon to ever hit landfall in the history, which devastated my city, I extended or expanded my research in terms of disaster. So I work on that, and I became the UNESCO chair on gender, migration in post-disaster communities in Asia Pacific in 2022, 2023, before I came to Lakehead University. So I'm very passionate about the intersections in terms of gender, migration, environment, disaster, and all in the lens of social science and humanities. The core of all disciplines is from social science and humanities. So therefore, the value from which we do our research really provides a holistic understanding to the complexities of social realities.
Thank you for sharing more about your rich history and how your research evolved, of course, from one topic to another, but also, as you noted, it expanded quite drastically. To speak a little more close to home, perhaps, and of course, also to do some work that's going to be ever present, I think, as we continue ahead into the future. As you noted, social sciences and humanities is interwoven in terms of the foundational knowledge it provides to research itself. So speaking about the faculty, what is your vision for Lakehead's faculty of social sciences and humanities going forward?
My vision is global. So they say Lakehead University is main campus here at Thunder Bay is in Northwestern Ontario, and we have a campus at Aurelia at Simcoe County, and we have a regional focus, rich history in terms of engaging with the communities. But where I would like to take Lakehead University for the Faculty of Social Science and Humanities is to have a global impact, a global vision where our contribution to different fields, into understanding our world and our societies, different cultures, different systems interact is important. So that's the vision I set. Lakehead University is not only local, regional, but also global. We are, in fact, global because we have so many countries, over 100 countries represented in both campuses, but have more global impact would be the vision that I'll take the faculty.
For sure. And having students from around the world joining Lakehead here in Thunder Bay or Aurelia will also elevate that experience and that opportunity. Those students will bring a wealth of knowledge and education and experience that students here in Canada may not necessarily have the same perspective, which I think enriches the classes and the student experience for everyone. Of course, we are still a Canadian institution with a vast majority of our enrollment Canadian students. Speaking of the students, though, I'm curious to know what is your faculty structure in terms of supporting those students and ensuring that on day one, all the way through until when they walk across that stage at convocation, how do you make sure that they feel supported and prepared to go to the next stage of career or education?
For Lakehead University, we have an integrated approach to welcoming our students. So it's not only the job or not within mainly the purview of the faculty, but Lakehead University has I think almost all of those support provided to students. So we have international students have welcome events, orientation. Our domestic students and students coming in also have their own orientation and welcoming activities that's coordinated by the registrar's office, student central, student wellness, and many other support services that really connects with the Faculty of Science and Humanities. They are not in-house in our faculty, but it's part of the university structure. So in terms of our faculties of Science and Humanities, we have one of the largest faculty that supports students from different faculties. Students may be taking a course in another faculty or a major in another faculty, but they take elective courses and essential courses in our Faculty of Social Science and Humanities. So in terms of structure, we have about 12 departments and 3 programs and a BA General, and that covers English, history, political science, gender and women's studies, sociology, political science, music, visual arts, interdisciplinary studies, and others. So it's really integrated into our own departmental culture for students and faculty interested in the learning potential and the learning growth of our students. So we have advising, we have experiential learning. Many of our courses have some community perspectives or participation. So students may have the opportunity to connect with their communities, not only for the graduate school, but we also have experiential opportunities for students in various ways, part of their courses. So they will have to look into the course outlines or course programs about which of those that really connects with them. So overall, we have very interesting courses that kind of would provide students much diversity and much breadth in terms of knowledge, theoretical, practical, as well as in those areas.
That's good to know. I of course, represent Lakehead International, and we certainly do our best to support international students from exploration of university all the way through to graduation, depending on what team you work with. I myself also am a proud alumni of Lakehead University, and when I did my business degree in the Faculty of Business Administration, many of my electives ended up being within gender and women's studies, outdoor recreation, parks and tourism, and political science. So I myself have that experience of that intersection between faculties and that interdisciplinary approach to Lakehead's education and delivery model. With that being said, we will dive into the programs offered, and then we'll have an opportunity to sit down with a researcher and a student in just a while here. But before we let you go, Dr. Bonifacio, I would like to hear in 60 seconds or less, what would you say to a future Lakehead student who's considering social sciences humanities? Why should they pick Lakehead?
Well, Lakehead is one of the top universities in Canada. Lakehead is embedded in terms of the local, regional, national, and global aspects. And Lakehead University is it's a smaller atmosphere in terms of class sizes, and students are able to find niches of support and from peers and from the faculty. They are more personalized approach in terms of teaching and connections with the faculty. And of course, we have amazing support from different areas like library, like students, health and wellness, etc.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us today. It's been my pleasure to host you. As I noted, next we're going to dive into exploring some of those programs offered in both undergraduate and graduate level courses. And then we'll follow up with a sit-down conversation with a current researcher at Lakehead as well as a student. So thank you. And with that, I would like to welcome our special guest, a current student, Gianella, who is in political science within the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities. I'll pass over to her to introduce herself and share more about her journey to Lakehead.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gianella. I'm from Lima, Peru, and in my fourth year of political science pre-law program, 4 years almost in Thunder Bay, and I'm part of the ALAS, Association of Latin American Students here at Lakehead, and the Lakehead Law Politics Association.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us. Of course, we picked you because you're so involved and you've done quite a few incredible things here at Lakehead in your 4 years. We're going to start at the very beginning of your journey, though, and we're going to chat a bit about your courses and some of the curriculum that you've been doing for 4 years now. As you noted, you're in political science pre-law, though. So can you share with the audience, what does that entail? What does that look like in terms of some of your favorite courses, perhaps? And then also, how have you filled it in and made it your own, essentially?
The political science pre-law program here in Lakehead entails a combination of political science courses and law courses, and also the electives that you're more interested of. So it makes it makes for you a good foundation in politics and law. So you have two different perspectives of one you want to focus. And especially for me, I fall in love, especially with international law and immigration law, and kind of also human rights as well. And I will say this program gives you a really good perspective of what you want to maybe pursue in the future, not only in the local Canadian side, but also in the international view.
Right. I can draw the connections myself, being that if you're passionate about immigration law and human rights and social justice, perhaps, that's probably why you're also involved in the community in some of those clubs and societies. So perhaps share with the audience a bit about what your roles are and what your day-to-day endeavors are, but also some of your favorite memories. I mean, you've been with us now for almost 4 years, so what really stands out as being a shining moment, perhaps?
Definitely the creation of Alas. I was the founder with Gabi and Emilio, my other friends. We created the Association of Latin American Students. So it's going to be almost 2 years since we founded the club, and we have helped lots of Latinos here, but not only, no, not, oh, sorry, not only Latinos, but we have shareable culture with other students from all over the world. We got to know people from all over the world as well. So it was really good experience about that. And for the Lakehead Law Politics Association, which is more related to my field, we got to do lots of activities related to law. We went to the courthouse, we visited the city hall. We even had interviews with professionals, with educators and ministers soon in the future. So it was just a good opportunity for me to also spread my skills in politics, but also culturally.
Awesome. I know in both cases, of course, networking sounds pretty foundational to those groups. In the latter, of course, professional networking and getting to experience that taste of what life in law would be like. And I'm sure that probably excited you for your future. In the first instance, though, you shared that you actually were a founding member of the club that supports students from Latin America or Latinos. But it also, I know I've seen it firsthand. It really brings the entire campus community together. You have a way of celebrating, whether it be the food, the music, or just the celebrations themselves. They're big, they're loud, they're exciting. How has that influenced your experience at Lakehead thus far?
It influenced in a really, I would say, um, meaningful way because being far away from home and implement it here at Lakehead was such a good experience, and also giving this to other students just made us the community and the culture continue and to help others. So that's the main reason. Yeah.
Great. And I know that uh, to to sort of add on to your experience and perhaps maybe to speak more to that immigration law, and also building on past friendships that you've already established through your club, you did happen to go on an exchange earlier this year to Europe. So perhaps share with the audience, what was that process like to secure the exchange? Who did you go with? And maybe again reflecting on some of your favorite moments.
Mm. I was also interested in doing an exchange program, so I shared this news with the Latin community, and me and my friend Emilio, he's in the computer science program, was also interested to do it the same time. Our first thoughts were for France, but then Germany came in the way, and it was, I think, the perfect pick. Germany, especially because I was really interested in the European law and immigration law and international law, and in case for Emilio, more in computer science. But Germany was such a good experience for me. I think the program itself for the political science, it was really helpful in the way to transfer the credits and to learn like another perspective of politics abroad. So it helped me definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think obviously in your case, it seems natural to have that international experience in a different law curriculum. But also, even I'm thinking for Emilio, you mentioned he was in computer science. Germany is well known to be an economic powerhouse around the world. And so I'm sure he was able to perhaps have access to some really unique perspectives and industry experts well over there in Germany. That's really exciting. Of course, you're in your fourth and final year at Lakehead. So the $1 million question, I'm sure everyone's posing to you, family members are asking, what's next? What do you foresee yourself doing in the future? So I'll pass it over to you to share with us.
Perfect. Obviously, my initial thoughts are pursuing law to be a lawyer here in Canada. But since my experience in Germany, I'm also curious and kind of wanting to do international law and diplomacy more focused in Europe. So my thoughts are just confused in the moment, but obviously in the way to pursuing law.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the good thing about a Lakehead degree is it's a Canadian university degree from a public university, so it's recognized worldwide as being powerful. So it will get you into just about any school around the world. So if you choose to pursue law internationally in Europe, that would be certainly exciting. We love to see our students expand and build on the experiences that they've already been able to have at Lakehead. So I wish you all the best, Gianella. It's been a pleasure to get to know you. Next, folks, we are going to meet with a professor in Indigenous learning, Dr. Juan Sanchez Martinez. So thank you again to our Associate Professor, Dr. Juan Sanchez Martinez. He is a professor within the Department of Indigenous Learning here at Lakehead University, Thunder Bay. I'll pass it over to him to introduce himself to the audience, and then we'll dive into a bit of the questions we have related to his research. Dr. Sanchez Martinez, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. This is Juan. I'm originally from Colombia, from the Andes. I'm speaking from the land of the Anishinaabe here in Thunder Bay in Lake Superior. And I teach in Indigenous Learning and in the Masters of Social Justice classes on extractivism and Indigenous peoples and land-based pedagogies and sky knowledge. And I also work on film and literature, artivism. Yeah. Mhm.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for taking the time to join us and share just a tidbit of information related to the research you're conducting. So on that note, I'll pass it right back to you to perhaps dive into it a bit about what research projects you've taken on in recent years.
Yeah, so I would like to share about two projects that I'm currently working on, and they are all they both are online open access projects in they are multilingual because there are indigenous languages, English, Spanish, and French. And one of them is called Siwarmaju, a river of hummingbirds. It's like an online anthology and exhibition of indigenous artists and writers and filmmakers. And the content is sometimes interviews, sometimes poetry, sometimes is the showcase of an artist, and but what is unique about it is that the content is in Spanish and English, and people in different parts of Abya Turtle Island, the Americas, can have access to it, and so that's really important for me because that's part of the work that I do. I envision these websites and publications as bridges, between communities. And the second project is called Indigenous Message on Water, and we are working right now in the second volume. The first one was 10 years ago, and we're going to have a website, but also an ebook, and we are being supported by the Indigenous Environmental Network. So there are many voices from different communities and on water, teachings, poems, essays, perspectives.
Great. So,
Yeah.
of course, the burning question for our audience members will always be if they're interested in participating in research, whether it's this or maybe they join in a few years when you've pursued new projects, how can they get involved or how do students get involved in these types of projects?
Yeah, so students help me sometimes with interviewing different authors, artists, producing, like a review about this exhibition, this specific book. Um, Sometimes they help me translating if they are bilingual in different languages, and with the help of the editorial team, because it's not just me, it's a bunch of colleagues and scholars working on these projects. We can guide the student, if it's the first time that is translating literature. So there is a process there, and people feel motivated by it. Mhm.
Great. And I know you just mentioned that in the second project related to the conversations around water and Indigenous views, this is volume 2 that you're just kicking off now. It may be premature, but I'm curious, and I'm sure the audience is excited to hear more about what are the anticipated outcomes or what are your hopes as a researcher to have an impact across the Americas?
Yeah, so the vision of these anthologies and this project is the vision of two elders, Darlene Sanderson and Mona Pulaka, and they collaborating with the Indigenous World Forum on Water and Peace and the Indigenous Environmental Network. They travel with these anthologies and they share it in different communities and gatherings all over the world. And so we are really excited because this is a beautiful way to bring indigenous perspectives into these conversations on global warming and climate change, and that sometimes indigenous perspectives are not present. And so that's why we believe in this work of the anthologies. And so we're hoping to have in the spring of 2025 the second volume, and we are planning launching, and there's going to be a beautiful website that we are putting together. Mhm.
Great. Well, I'm sure, like the audience, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that announcement. And thank you again for sharing more about the important research that you and your colleagues and scholars and students as well are participating in. To our audience, next we're going to jump over and meet another researcher from the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities. With that, I want to take the opportunity and say welcome to Dr. Jeppesen, one of our professors in the Department of Interdisciplinary Studies on our Lakehead Aurelia campus. Hello, Sandra. Thank you for joining us. I'll pass over to you to introduce yourself to the audience, and then we'll dive into a bit more about your research here at Lakehead.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for having me today. It's nice to be sharing space with everyone. I'm a professor in media, film, and communications in the Interdisciplinary Studies department. And I've been at Lakehead since 2010 when it first opened the new buildings. And I was hired to actually create the media, film, and communications program. And I do research in this area, and I teach alternative media and the upper year classes as well.
Awesome. Well, I'm certainly excited to have you online. You've been integral in terms of the development of the program. As you mentioned, you were one of the first faculty members to join the Aurelia campus, so we're excited to have you today. On that note, you've also had a lot of opportunities, though, to really focus in on your research and your passions and draw from different aspects of your career and education. So I'll pass it back to you and have you kick it off with sharing more about what you're actively working on.
So I have a very large project right now working on a race, gender, and diversity initiative with colleagues across Canada, the US, Morocco, and we also work with 5 university partners, community research partners, so community organizations that we're working to understand their best practices in EDI, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I come at that from a social justice lens, which has been fundamental to all of my research, even back when I was a graduate student. And we're hoping that the outcomes of that will be to have an impact on the way people understand EDI and the way that it's practiced within institutions, so that we have more inclusion, more feelings of belonging, and so on. And I currently have a large research team. I have a postdoc working with me and a whole bunch of grad students, I think 7 grad students, masters, and PhD students, and 1 undergraduate who is in computer science and is doing a lot of data collection for us and website development and things like that. So I work with students from across campus. And I've had some international research interns from Brazil, the United States, and India. So lots of really interesting research. I love to bring in students at all levels to work with me. I think they have a lot to contribute.
Certainly, yeah, the international perspective helps enrich learning and research. They certainly bring a different lens to what we look at. Of course, you have international experience, and I won't steal your own thunder, but I know you're also working on another research project with partners in Scandinavia. So perhaps you'll share with the audience a bit about that.
Yeah, so that's more a new project that's just in early stages. Let's say we're doing a pilot project, me and my colleague, Dr. Debra Mackinnon, to look at smart home technologies. And we have 2 co-researchers in Sweden and Denmark. And we're looking at the way marginalized groups can use technologies in the home in ways that empower them, but also are there ways in which they're excluded through technology. So that's a new project. Like I said, we have a pilot fund for it, seed funding. And so we're just getting started on that. But it's also very exciting for me because it brings back, so my, even though my graduate work was in social sciences and humanities, my undergraduate, I have an honors Bachelor of Applied Science and Engineering. And so I'm really excited to now be sort of shifting my work on social justice to look at technologies and how technologies play a role in social justice.
That's certainly exciting. Obviously, you get to draw on some past experiences all the way back to your undergrad to now see it come full circle to an extent and interwoven social justice aspects, new technology. You also shared with me earlier offline, one of your first jobs is quite interesting. Right. So I'll perhaps probe that and tease the audience where you could share more and how that's even worked its way into your current research.
So yes, the first job I had when I graduated was in Copenhagen in Denmark, and I was an engineering graduate. So I worked on a small team in a high-tech startup company there on AI and expert systems for medical applications. And so now I'm looking at smart homes and AI and so on. And I teach a fourth-year course on AI algorithms and ethics. And so I think I have a unique perspective as someone in social sciences and humanities with that background, because I've actually done a lot of programming when I was younger. And so I have a kind of backdoor insight, or a sort of bring another level of insight into my research.
That's incredible to hear. And I'm sure many of the audience members are asking themselves, how do I get access to these types of opportunities in terms of participating in research, enhancing their learning through research, or just to join some of the community work that you're doing?
Yeah, so I hire a lot of undergraduate students as researchers, and Lakehead is really well known for that. We're one of the top universities in undergraduate research, and I have contributed to that, I think, my own small part. I've had undergraduate students for many, many years. I have at least one on the go at any given time. So if you're interested, you can always just approach me, and I get to know students because I teach them at all year levels. And if I think that they might be interested in what I'm doing, I might approach them. I also advertise jobs for undergraduate students, and there are lots of international internships as well. And if you wanted to volunteer on a project as well, I tend to, once people volunteer, if they like it, if it's a good fit, they end up getting a job too. So I'm always looking for great students to bring in for opportunities. And I do completely agree with what you said earlier, Jordan, in terms of the expertise that they bring from a different part of the world. There's just so much for us to learn from international students.
Awesome. Thank you. I know it may be early days in some of your projects, but we always like to look forward to the future in terms of academia. So what are your hopes or aspirations for some of those research outcomes?
Yeah, so as I said, for the Race, Gender, and Diversity Initiative, we're really finding some interesting new ways of approaching EDI that are quite off the beaten track, I guess, that are quite innovative and unusual for practices in institutions. So we're hoping to bring that knowledge out into the public with some reports. We're presenting a policy report to the government. The impact, though, for me, the important impact is how is this going to impact people's everyday lives in their workplaces, in universities, in wherever people are spending time. So that's really exciting for us. And we're putting together a conference on that next summer to bring together people from all different sectors to have these conversations, to talk about their experiences, our research knowledge, and so on. We're also, Dr. Mackinnon and I, as part of this pilot project, are applying for, putting together, hoping to have a research hub on the topic that we're working on, more or less. But we'll see if that plays out. And we've applied for quite a large grant on that as well, to work with our colleagues, to continue the work with our colleagues in Sweden and Denmark.
Great. I'm sure the audience is probably buzzing now that they've heard the potential of more research opportunities and a hub at that being based in the Simcoe region, of course, where they can further explore their passions and hopefully more academia beyond that. Thank you again for your time, Dr. Jeppesen. It's been my pleasure to be your host. Next, we're going to meet with actually your colleague, Dr. Debra Mackinnon, to learn more about her research and the impacts it has with Lakehead University and the communities we work so closely with. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks, Jordan.
And to wrap things up on our Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, we have one more feature of a current professor and researcher on the Lakehead Aurelia campus. It's my pleasure to welcome and introduce Dr. Mackinnon. I'll pass it over to her to introduce herself.
Thanks, Jordan. So I'm Dr. Debra Mackinnon. I am a professor here in the Interdisciplinary Studies Department, and I teach specifically into the criminology program as well as the social justice program. So my background is in sociology, criminology, and geography. I did my PhD at Queen's University, and my research there looked at the adoption and use of kind of small-scale smart city technologies. Did a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Calgary, and then another one at the University of Windsor, where I was a Banting Fellow. And my research there looked at the growth of private urban governance in a global context.
Awesome. Well, I hear some of the connections. I've learned a bit more about your current research at Lakehead, and I'm starting to draw my own connections. But perhaps for the audience, if you wouldn't mind sharing a couple projects that you're currently working on in terms of research, and then we'll dive a bit deeper into that.
Absolutely. So I love teaching, but a large component of my job as well is research, and that's what really brought me into academia, is getting to conduct primary research in my communities. I'll talk about a couple projects. The first, which is a SSHRC-funded project that I'm working on with my colleague, Dr. Tara Hodgkinson at the University, or Wilfrid Laurier University, looks at libraries today, specifically their safety, security, and inclusion. And so libraries are some of the last public spaces that we have. And they've also become the front line of a lot of social problems. So I'm leading a 4-year project that looks and partners with libraries in Ontario, specifically Thunder Bay, Brantford, and Barrie, to look at the challenges, but also successes that they face and try to have a real impact in our community. Second project that I'm working on is with colleagues at the INRS, which is a research institute out of Quebec. Morgan Mouton in particular is leading this project that looks at private data centers in Canada. And so private data centers are a really big and sometimes forgotten about component of our current big data, AI-based society. It's what fuels them. And these centers bring with them incredible challenges and impacts on our communities, from their environmental to social costs.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing more. I know we've essentially only scratched the surface of these projects, but I'm sure the audience is itching to learn more about how do students get involved in this research, perhaps, if they join Lakehead, or in other instances, how do you integrate research into some of the undergraduate courses that you deliver on a day-to-day basis?
I love working with students, sharing, what our discipline is about, and its continuation is very important to me. At various kind of components and levels, my research engages with students. In terms of the libraries project, I'm working with a couple fantastic Lakehead grad students right now who are imperative in collecting data, learning to analyze it. They're doing their own cases. Within our criminology program and classes that I teach, I get students doing, hands-on case studies where they're learning about the connections between law, surveillance, and doing some primary and secondary research there. And it's not just, research. There's also a whole element of research creation here. So I've had some students do artistic projects looking at or reflecting on the impacts of social media and surveillance in their everyday lives.
Interesting. I know it's the million-dollar question, especially when securing grant funding. What is the anticipated outcome or impact that you hope to have with the projects related to library as well as data centers?
Mm-hmm. The impact of our research is imperative. And in terms of the libraries project, it's a community participatory action research project. So we've partnered with the libraries. We want to know more about what their challenges are and how we can help them arrive at solutions. And obviously, solutions are multi-factor, multi-level initiatives. For these projects, we're really hoping to better amplify and highlight how libraries are critical infrastructure that we need to fund and better partner with and engage in. They're doing such important frontline work. And so this project, based on these cases, hopes to create a broader network, both within library sciences, but also an academic one to share best practices, resources, and grow conversations around mid-sized public libraries in Canada. In terms of the data centers, so one of the project's aims led by my colleagues at the INRS is to create an atlas of private data centers in Canada. My interest in the project, alongside this mapping activity, is to also think about the privacy, the social, and the environmental impacts that these private data centers have in our communities. How do we better legislate them? What is to be done, and what are their impacts?
Awesome. Well, thank you again for sharing more. I'm excited to learn more about that research, and perhaps we'll see some news articles coming out about the impacts of that in the future. I'm excited that you, although you're based on our Aurelia campus, are partnered with the Thunder Bay Public Library, which is exciting for our community here up in Northwestern Ontario. So thank you again for your work that you are doing, and you're guiding new students and Lakehead students on that journey. With that being said, to our audience, thank you again for learning more about the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities.
Okay, so after that wonderful session with all our guests, so now we'll move into our Q&A session. So please send in your questions through the chat, and we'll do our best to answer them. And I wanted to give a huge shout out to Paula, who has been answering some questions behind the scenes and helping you all. So if there are no questions, we will move forward and to wrap up today's session. So if you have any questions or just want to connect with us further, feel free to, reach out to us via our social media channels. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube under Lakehead International. Also, if you're curious about student life, any kind of upcoming events, any details, those are the platforms to, which are a great way to stay in the loop. And we really hope to see you at one of our next live webinars, and even more, we'd love to welcome you on campus someday. If you have any questions, you can email us at welcome@lakeheadu.ca. That is our email ID, wherein you can just ask us any information, and we'll be happy to help you. And with that, I will be wrapping up today's session. Thank you so much again for joining. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. You can connect with us on social media. You can find us at Lakehead International on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We hope to see you in our next live webinar. Bye for now.